Ahmadu Nasalli ala Rasul Kareem Ahmabad. Thank you, dear sister Julia, for this kind introduction. And in today's lecture, this is the first of 16 lectures to come. And so in this lecture, I am tasked with introducing political science as a field of study. So, so in my today's lecture, I will try to cover few important topics that can guide our listeners to understand what is political science as a field of study today and how Islam can contribute to further development of the discipline. And so today we are going to discuss a few important themes. The first, I will discuss a bit about what is politics. What do we mean when we say the politics? When we use the concept politics, what do we mean? This is what I am trying to address in my first part of the lecture. Then I will move to introduce politics as a field of study, and which is political science. What does it mean? What are the definitions, and so on. And the third, I will discuss about the scope of political science. What are the major fields or subjects in political science? What are the subfields in political science? Then I will discuss about political science in its relationship with the other human sciences, how the political science is evolving as a field of study, and how it made a relationship with other human sciences to expand its field. And finally, I will give a few remarks about political science and Islamic perspective, because we have a separate session on this particular theme next week, hopefully. So what is politics? This is the first question that I am trying to deal with. So when we talk about politics, people understand the concept differently, and different scholars have provided different interpretations to understand the concept, and we have different religious traditions have different meaning assigned to the concept of politics. But here I am trying to introduce three important meanings political scientists try to deploy in terms of understanding the concept. And the first meaning of politics is the art of government, and which is one of the oldest meanings given to the politics, or at least meaning to given to the act of politics. So this art of government as a meaning of politics given by the Aristotle in his book Politics. So this is one of the oldest interpretation of politics. So he wrote a book in this subject, a separate book in the name of Politics, where he defines this concept. And in his definition, or this concept, Aristotle derives from the original word of polis, which is the city-state, meaning city-state in Greek language. So here what Aristotle trying to convey is that at least here the Aristotle in trying to define the concept as a regulating, as a mechanism to regulate the affairs of the polis, meaning the city, or at least at least regulating the public affairs in the city. So this is the meaning Aristotle gave in his book when he used the concept politics. And here he mainly explore the idea of authority and how the right of a person or institutions to make decision on behalf of the community. So there will be people who do politics, meaning to say who has the authority, legitimacy to take decisions on behalf of the community in regulating their affairs. So these leaders do politics, meaning they regulate the public affairs of their city. This is the meaning initially given to politics by the Aristotle. So politics, where this politics takes place in the Aristotelian perspective, politics takes place in state institutions like parliament or like public or legislative assemblies, where you see politicians come and make policies or debate laws and make policies or new laws which is very much related to the public affairs of the particular city, or in this to the modern context, particular state. So this meaning of art of governing the public is the first initial meaning given to the idea, or at least given to the concept of politics in the ancient Greece, and which we still use even today. Now, what is the second meaning? Second meaning is right opposite to the idea of the at least Aristotelian idea of politics. Here, the politics is defined from the perspective of the society. Aristotle defines politics from the perspective of the politicians, or at least the elites who govern the society. So the power that they have in regulating the society, that is politics for Aristotle. But here, some political scientists define politics from the perspective of society. They call it politics is a socially embedded activity. What does that mean? They say the locus of power is not with the politicians, but with the people. So actually, they argue that we need to interpret politics from the perspective of society. For example, they say people vote, people participate in the elections. It is people who, through voting, through participating in the elections, it is people who authorize the power transition from party A to party B. And so they are the key actors in the political sphere. It is so we need to incorporate society into the dynamics of politics according to the second definition, and they are the core of politics, because more than voting and authorization of power, it is society. They engage in political discussions, they watch political debates, they participate in political gatherings, and they make opinions about political changes. And also they actually they play a major role in public opinion making with regard to the political dynamics. So more than politicians and those who are in the power, it is the society need to be considered as the core of politics. So here the definition, the politics is being understood as a social activity, or at least socially embedded activity. So politics needs to be seen from the perspective of society and their activism with regard to the political power and authorization of power or power transition. This is the second perspective perspective with regard to the defining what is politics. So you can see here you can see here in the picture. So there are people who are holding holding messages conveying the idea of we need to vote with the clarity, and voting is the people's power. So this picture informs us the second dynamics, or a different perspective of politics. Then the third aspect or third meaning which is given to the concept of politics. Here political scientists argue, beyond the art of governance, beyond the socially embedded activism, the core of politics is not the society. It's not the politicians. Beyond that, the core of politics is power. Politics is equal to power. Politics is an act of seeking power. This is the third idea, or at least the third important idea shared by the political scientists in defining the concept of politics. Here they argue, or at least they come to this conclusion based on three important premises. They argue the core of politics is not to serve the people, or at least not to take care of the well-being of the people. Rather, the core of politics is to compete, or at least to involve in competition to capture the state power. This is the core of politics. Why politicians involve in politics, and why other civil society actors involved in politics? Just to shape the state power in accordance with their interest. So this is one of the premise that they define this third concept of politics, which is power. The second is humans are naturally driven by self-interest. So they say that humans are naturally driven by self-interest, meaning to say that they are always seeking, or at least trying to serve their self-interest, their own objectives through whatever the human interactions they involve in. So part of that is politics. So they come to politics just to serve their self-interest, which is their natural instinct. So they just try to cater their interests through politics. The third important premise in defining politics as a locus of power, which is the hegemony. So you see, they argue in politics, wherever politics happen, there will be hegemony. Politicians use power to influence the people, to subjugate the people, to drive the people in a direction that serve their own interest. So they argue altogether they argue that this is the reality of politics that out there in our world. So through governing the people and through making laws, through policies, the end game would be to serve their own party, their own self-interest. This is politics in reality, according to the some other political scientists. Especially, there is a famous definition of politics you can see here in this picture, and also a quotation. Harold Laswell, he's one of the famous political scientists in the West, and he defines politics as who gets what, when, and how. It's about sharing the power. It's about grabbing the power. It's about all about politics is just it's a journey, or it's a struggle to capture more power. That's the essence of politics, according to Harold Laswell. And from this quote, many political scientists develop this idea of politics as just an act of seeking power. There is no welfare there. There is no public interest there. And these are the three important aspects political scientists discuss when it comes to the concept of politics. But you can see in all these three aspects, there is one common similarity, or there is a shared idea in between all these three, either politics as a governing art of governance, or politics as a socially embedded activity. All the politics is an act of seeking power. The central notion that we can find all these three definitions is politics is all about power, because without power you cannot govern. Without power society involved in society, they involved in politics through voting, through watching political debates. Why? Because they know that politics provides power to the politicians to regulate their affairs. And so the power becomes the central aspect of politics in all these three definitions. So we see here that if it is the power is the central notion in politics, then we can argue where this power is located. So in current context, the power is located within state. So the state becomes a very important entity in the modern world when we're talking about politics, because the state is the one and only entity that monopolizes the power, that gives power to the people or the politicians to regulate the society's public affairs. So the state becomes one of the important organs of power in modern times. So when we talk about politics as a field of study, we see the most of the definitions revolving around the concept of state, because state is the central organ of power. So because state, without you have a even to practice the art of governance or to involve in state affairs, you need to obtain the state power in a legitimate way. So because the state that gives power to the people, state monopolizes the power. So because of that, when we define politics, we always see most of the definitions revolve around the state, especially in the modern context. So now I'm moving to my second part, defining politics as a field of study. Before that, we looked politics as an act. What does it mean? Now we are moving to the second part, politics as a field of study. Here I have provided three important definitions to define the politics, or you can take this as a definitions of political science. Political science is the specific field of study that analyzes and explores the political phenomenon. Here you can see three important definitions. The definition number one, a branch of political science is all about the science of the state. It's science of the state. Political science is equal or at least synonymous with the science of the state. Why? Because state is the locus of power. So power, when we see that, when we define or at least understand the power is as the central notion of politics, so we end up with the definition of the science of the state is the political science. So first definition says the branch of social science. Political science is a branch of social science dealing with the theory, organization, government, and the practice of the state. The second definition, you can see the science which is concerned with the state, which endeavors to understand and comprehend the state in its fundamental conditions, in its essential nature, its various forms of manifestation, and its development. Political science is that a part of science which treats the foundation of the state and principles of the government. You see, in these three definitions, the key word is the state. The key word is the state. All three definitions, though the wording is different, all three definitions agree that the state is the key actor in political science, or key theme in political science. So we see that power is the core of politics. So the power lies in the state. So political science studies about the state. So through studying the state, political science trying to engage with how state power is regulated, organized, and how state power is distributed among different entities of the state, like legislature, judiciary, and also the executive. These are the major business. Analyzing these dynamics is the major business of political science as a field of study. Now I am moving to my third part, which is political power and Islamic perspective. So here I touch upon very briefly about the Islamic perspective of political power from the Islamic perspective, because because I will be discussing this theme separately in the coming lecture. For an introduction, I share a brief overview about this. So in political science, since political science studies about power and state, so there is a famous quote in political science textbooks. If you read, you will easily come across this statement: power tends to corrupt, and the absolute power corrupts absolutely. So since political science and politics is all about power, and so we hear most political scientists say that there is a fundamental principle here, that if one accumulates power to an absolute extent, he will obviously become corrupt. Because it's whatever, even though you are a good human being, sometimes political power, if you accumulate power, that might lead you to the corruption, and also to become a hegemon or try to manipulate the mass. So this is a common principle in political science. We generally come across this statement. So here we see the role of revelation in politics, because here Islam brings certain moral frameworks to regulate the power, and to address the question of how to use the power. Islam says, if you read the revelation, if there is a Quran and Sunnah, there's a fundamental principle with regard to the power, also all types of power. It says the source of all power is Allah Almighty in Islam. It's God. So Islam says the real power is with the God. So we are human beings as the vicegerents of the God. We are accountable to the power that we use today to regulate the society. So when we manage power in involving politics, we are accountable to the God, because the power is given to us by the God. So all source of true power is the God. So there is an accountability dimension Islam introduces when it comes to the power from an Islamic perspective. So Islam strongly argues that power needs to be put in a moral framework, an ethical framework defined by Islamic revelations. So Islam also further says that power is a means to serve God. It's not an end itself, as it is defined by contemporary political theorists. We saw that politics is all about power. It's one of the important definitions given to politics by the political theorists today. And they say that politics is all about power, and power is the end game of politics. But here Islam says it cannot be like that. Power needs to be put in a moral framework to serve God. So when you use power, you need to take into account that you need to use that to get or to make this world peaceful, and also enduring your blissful life in the hereafter. And also you need to use politics as a source of mercy and justice for humanity. Through these two principles, you can serve God. And so this, if you put these two objectives if you understand these two objectives in regulating the power or in managing the power, Islam says you will be able to use this power in the interest of the public, and also to get the mercy of the God. If you forget these principles that is defined by the revelation, you will end up as the first statements tells us. It will corrupt us, and if we get the absolute power, it will corrupt us absolutely. If you want to escape from this uh, uh, destiny, you need a revelation. You need Islamic ethical framework to guide you in managing the political power. And so with that, I am moving to the next important aspect of political science, the scope of political science. So you see here, I have identified four important branches of political science as a field of study, and these subjects are core, we say the core subjects of political science. Political science is a big discipline. It's expansive discipline that contains many aspects of power dynamics. So mainly, when we define the core of political science, we usually identify four subjects within that. One is political philosophy or political theory, which is the core part of political science. That aspect study the political ideas, ideologies, and philosophies. So, especially some universities, you will find the course political theory. In some other universities, you will find the course political philosophy. The most times, both these courses are offering the same subject. So, in this aspect, you study political ideas of the political thinkers like Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, St. Augustine, Al-Mawardi in Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah, and also modern times, Thomas Hobbes. So you study the ideas of political thinkers in a historical perspective, how the political ideas evolved from in a historical context, what are the different historical events shaped those ideas. And this is the branch we call political philosophy. The second important branch of political science is international relations. In this branch, we study the relations between the nations and global politics and international organizations such as UN, ASEAN, EU. These are the key themes in this section of political science, international relations. I think we have a separate session on this topic as well in this certificate course. And the third important branch is comparative politics. In this branch, we study or we compare different political systems across different countries to understand how different countries succeeded and how democracy, for example, democracy succeeded in some countries and it has failed in some other countries. So these comparisons help us to understand the nuances of political phenomenon. So comparative politics help us to understand these differences and how political concepts are put into practice in different contexts, similarities, and the challenges they have in developing the political societies. So we study all those themes in comparative politics. We also have a separate session on this in this course. And also public administration is the final important section of political science, where we study the policy making process within a state, and also how policies are being implemented, and also how policy impact on the society. So whole sort of policy making or policy making process, and how policies are debated and constructed, and also how policies are institutionalized. All these themes will be covered in public administration section. So just to make you aware that we will have a separate topic in this theme as well in this course. So you will cover all these four different dimensions of political science in this course, hopefully in the upcoming lectures. So this is the basic scope of political science as a field of study. And what are the political science? Then finally, political science and its relationship with other human sciences. This is a very important subject to discuss because political science, as I defined you, as I explained to you, its definitions revolve around mainly the state and state power and regulating the state power and also policy making. And these subjects, these themes we discuss within the political science. But now the political science as a field of study is keep expanding, and it tried to engage with other human sciences in order to develop political science as a field of study. So you see subjects like political economy. You will find this course even in economic faculties and departments, and also in political science department, where they study subject of political economy. This is not considered to be a core subject of political science, but this is now becoming a core subject of political science as we now see the evolvement of the field of study by making relationship with the other human sciences. So political economy, where we study how economics of a country impact on the policy making process, and also political dynamics of a particular country or the particular regional politics. So economy and its relationship politics that we explore in this particular subject. And also political sociology is another important subject that we discuss in political science, and how sociology or sociological theories help us. We see how sociological theories help us to understand the power dynamics within the country or within the given region. So this is what we explore in political sociology. And there is another important subject in political science which we call political psychology. How psychological understandings, psychological theories, principles, and latest developments guide us to understand the power dynamics within a country. So the political sociology is one of the leading subjects in contemporary political science. Despite we don't consider this subject as a core of political science, but it is gradually become the core, since the world is moving more towards a multidisciplinarity. So we try to explore the political dynamics through the lenses of different disciplines. Also this is another example, the political communication. How communication theories and ideas help us to understand political dynamics and political party dynamics, how parties communicate with the people, politicians communicate with the people. So these are the communication theories help us to understand the power shifts and political behavior of political actors within a country. So political science is now moving more towards multidisciplinarity and getting help, assistance from different fields to understand our core business, which is to explore the political behavior of society and also politicians. And so this is the current development of political science. And that's all from me for today. And I think this is the overall view of political science as an introduction. I hope that if any one of you have any questions, we have 3 minutes more. Yeah, 3 minutes more. If you have, you can ask the questions. And the next week, hopefully, we will discuss political science from the Islamic perspective. Thank you very much.